Hey, what's up, everybody? This is technically, well, this isn't a Shining Spotlight episode, but this is just a spontaneous stream we decided to do today on the channel. This is going to be kind of like our little watch party for Origami Super Punch #1. You know, a lot of you guys know that we've been planning to do this and put this book out here for a while, and finally we have done that. Granted, now if you're looking at this very moment, it's supposed to be on Indie Planet. It's not quite there yet, but it should be there. I'm gonna say tomorrow because it should have been here today, but for whatever reason, there's an issue on the site. But we're still going forward with the watch party to kind of talk about our experience with doing this book. And I talk a lot on this channel, so I think you probably should hear a little bit from some of the creators. So I don't know who wants to go first.
Okay, I can go. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Che Baker, and I am the mangaka, artist and writer for Third Winter. So, yep, that's the logo we came up with. And just a pretty quick log line. It's pretty much a young man trying to figure out, some of his traumas that have actualized in real life. So, I just wanted to talk about, my experience and experience I've seen growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, and my experience as a Black man here in America. But I want to use the things that interest me, such as mental health, supernatural. So it was pretty much a supernatural frenzy, starting off, him navigating Amayas, his relationship with a young boy who is mysterious, who's been living in this very Inception like crazy fist of the North Star world, surviving here. And for Myers, this feels new. He's like, I don't know what this is and what the hell is going on. So he's really trying to figure out what's happening in real time while trying to look out for this boy, because why not, right? We got to protect the children no matter what. So a lot of it just comes from my experience in the workforce, some of his education. So just, trying to bridge the gap and start some serious conversations through uh, the OEL manga space.
Okay. It's funny, like with Third Winter, I'm not even gonna lie. I still love the name, and obviously, I know I might have had some involvement with you with that, but like I just think it was a good name, honestly. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like why you
Absolutely. So it started off just me talking about Michigan, Detroit weather. You know what I mean? Like I saw a post on Facebook, I identified with the post, and the post was like, in Detroit, you got a first winter, spring, second winter, summer, third winter, fall. So we were just teasing about that. And I was already trying to figure out a name for the story that I was coming up with. And Urban said that would be a good story name. I said, okay, that might be the story name that I go with. So we just stuck with Third Winter. So that's kind of how we came up with the idea.
Okay. Now I guess we'll roll around to you right now, Mike. So first off, how are you today? I know we're coming in here. Hopefully my energy's not too high right now, but how are you feeling? And I guess you can just do whatever you want to do right now.
I mean, everything's good. I hope you all can hear me. I don't know. Can y'all hear me? Hear me
Yeah, I
okay?
can hear you.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, chilling. Um, yeah, chilling. That's pretty much it. Enjoying Juneteenth because that's what today is.
Yes.
And we are very grateful for all the steps that have allowed us to be here in this space, being able to not only write and craft these stories the way that we do, but also just be able to speak our mind and um, just express ourselves in the way, in the manner that we see fit. My story, Beta, is pretty much this. It's a short story. It's nothing long term. Usually, most people want to either get out of like a one shot, but the grander story for Beta is that it's an anthology, well, of course, within the anthology. And so there's a collection of different stories that are transpiring specifically about men's problems and issues, because I've never seen anything about that or like that or read anything direct, but most of the stories take place in like a very similar setting to our real world, just with fictional places and fictional restaurants and stuff like that. But the initial story is called Love within the title beta. And it's an acronym, and it's actually the acronym of all the main characters' first names. And with Love, the story beta and the storyline of Love is pretty much about this young high school senior basically falling for this girl. It's a simple boy meets girl story, and I try to not only propagate how complicated young love can be, but also um, within that coming of age range, I'm trying to purposefully and carefully craft a narrative that's going to be understood, where the characters have agency, but also the characters make mistakes. And it's not just like these webtoon copy and paste love romance story mistakes. It's like I'm trying to avoid the common tropes that we see in romance comedy films or in webtoon romance manhwa. And I love it because it's hard to write, but I also love it because it's easy to draw. And that's the main reason why I took like a romance plot. And so I'm developing my like more shoujo-esque style where I'm pushing like these like really soft things and like thin lines and trying to get these emotions right for these characters. And then also it's a great setting for me to set up, like, because this is like my freshman piece of work. This is like what I'm trying to really set up and do, and like this is be a great starting off point as I develop as a professional artist, from amateur to professional artist. So that's all my words.
And first of all, I want to apologize. I'm like, I was typing, because I'm trying to send this out, but I didn't realize that my mic was or I had it on the wrong mic. I had it on the Logitech mic instead of my Yeti mic. So I just switched that. So just wanted to throw that out there, Mike. But in any case, director, it's interesting. You're actually, your position is kind of interesting because you not only worked on Killbox, but you are currently working on your own story, which is Ghost Smoothie. And of course, in the past with the Shining Otaku, you've done Exidio, you've done a lot of stuff. You have rabbit steps that you've done before doing anything with Shining Otaku. So you have a history.
Yeah. So I've been an artist for a while now, and then I discovered that I really have a lot of stories that I want to make. So like instead of becoming an artist, I just became a writer now. Right now, I guess I'll describe Ghost Smoothie, I guess. Okay. Ghost Smoothie is basically when... Sorry,
Oh no, that's fine. So Ghost Smoothie,
right, I guess.
Oh no, I can help you out a bit. So Ghost Smoothie. Let me.
Okay. Huh?
I was gonna say I have the log line for Ghost Smoothie if you want me to help you out.
I can do it. I can do it.
Okay.
So yeah, Ghost Smoothie is a story where the main character is basically fighting ghosts because I am really bad at this. Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. It's all good. I mean, that's the one thing I'm like, I feel like I'm not good at talking either, to be honest with you a lot.
I'm not good at talking.
I think you're doing fine. I mean, if I were to just summarize Ghost Smoothie, and I'm going to show an image of it in just a moment, it's a wisecracking punk that fights the paranormal to protect the living, because to fight the dead, it helps if you're one of them. So Ghost Smoothie plays homage to a lot of like horror.
Horror movies. Yeah, I basically started the ghost movie because I always notice like in these horror movies, the ghosts, monsters, and other worldly beings always basically win because the main characters are always human. So like, what if the main characters can fight back? So that's when it became like how you say a downward spiral to how can we make a horror movie thingy? No. What's the term? A horror movie inspired manga and combine it with a shonen battle esque manga style, might say. So like yeah, the story is just basically the main character or main characters fighting back against the ghosts or horror monsters.
Really quick, just got a shout out from somebody in the comments. Johnny Fitz, hey, what's going on? How you doing? All right. Going back to you and Ghost Smoothie. Well, actually, you know what? We're going to get back to talking about the artistic piece of everything in just a minute. I think we're all go around in a circle. Since some of the other people that are in the Super Punch, they're not in this stream right at the moment. Well, actually, hold on. She just showed up. I'm gonna give her a second just to get situated, but looks like we have Tani here. So we're just gonna give her a moment before I add her in, just because I want her to have a second. But I'm gonna go ahead and explain Killbox. So Killbox is a story that George and I worked on, Director and I have worked on together. You said what?
He's doxing me.
Oh my goodness. But we worked on it together, and it is here's the logo for it. And actually Mark worked on it as well. So it's a hip-hop themed story, battle rap manga. I'm gonna show you a little bit of the art from it. And obviously that's the page right there for it. So it's about a college student who loses all of his tuition money basically in a bad gamble that he decides to make with cryptocurrency. And from that point forward, he needs to figure out a way to be able to make that money back, because that was an investment that he made, or that was something that his parents gave to him from their life's fortune. So pretty much, if he doesn't give that money back, more than just him is going to be in trouble, his family's going to be in trouble. So he decides to pick up something that he's never done before, which is battle rap, which is something he really did not like. But once you read the story, you kind of find out where it goes from there. But that's what the story of Killbox is about. With that being said, all right, let's bring Tani in. All right, Tani.
Hey.
We warmed him up for you. Everybody's waiting for you. Now, I mean, all we're doing right now, and we're just talking real quick. We're just talking about our stories and pretty much just kind of rolling with it from there. So you did Seeds of Doubt. For some reason, I don't have the logo of Seeds of Doubt on this slideshow that I have right here, but I do have some of the art here pulled up. And if you want to go ahead and talk about Seeds of Doubt just briefly, then we'll go from there.
Okay. So basically it's about this boy named Kyofu and his best friend Yuri, who at first Kyofu doesn't know what he wants in life, and no one expects much from him until he defeats a monster called a Kyofun, which Yuri witnesses. And ever since then, he's convinced that Kyofu can change his birthright and scale the ranks into their world as a child of courage. While Kyofu thinks that's a nice idea, he doesn't know if he can change his birthright since he's known as a child of fear. So it's about Kyofu and Yuri going through life fighting monsters and um sorry and learning that there's more to the Kyofun than them just being monsters you can fight. There's more you can heal and overcome your anxieties and things of that nature. So,
Okay. Well, I think that was a pretty nice summary. Really quick, we got a second comment from Johnny Fitz. Having a rough day. I'm sorry, but I hope you all are well, gentlemen. Now, this was earlier, so I'm pretty sure he wasn't referring to you, Tiny. Just throwing it out there. But sorry to hear that. I'm not sure the proper way to respond. I know we have a clinical psychologist on here, so not volunteering his services, and make sure I say that. But I'm sure
I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm a therapist. I earned my degree in clinical mental health, but I do hope that he has a better day, and take care of yourself, whatever that looks like for you, Johnny Fitz. If you still there, take some time to yourself. Just making sure that you refill your cup. So we still rooting for you, brother. That's all. I'll just correct you on that. That's it.
Okay. You don't want me putting you out here like, giving you false credentials.
People work too hard, so I got to make sure I give credit to where credit is due. That's all.
I mess with Che all the time. I call him and hold on. Johnny said, thank you.
Yeah, Johnny, that's what this is for, to express ourselves. Sometimes we need the art in the creative space to cope. So,
Johnny, you should listen to the song Johnny Be Good. That'll pick you up real fast.
He also said,
real fast.
As a former manga artist, thanks. All right.
So get his contact from the chat. So we can check on Johnny.
Throw your information in the chat, Johnny. Your social media handles.
So we can at least check in on you, make sure you're okay.
All right. Now, let's see here. What's the next thing we're going to talk about? Okay. So, coming back to you. Actually, you know what? How did I ignore Darius? Now, I don't have Darius's art for his work pulled up right now for the work that him and Rexy are currently working on for their project right now. But Darius has done a lot as well. Darius has even worked on Striker and Slayer, which a lot of you out there might already be familiar with. That was his work that he did. And Darius, I feel like, knows everybody out there, and he's kind of been, around. Like, he has a lot of stories. So I'll let Darius speak for himself right now.
Hello, world. I look crazy right now. I'm in complete dad mode. But yeah, I'm Darius J. Walker, manga artist of 15 odd years or sort of. Yeah. I started my first. I think my first writing piece was when I was 13 in high school. Me and a group of friends was like, "Hey, you know what? Let's just make a manga, And then I was the one who took it seriously. I was like, "Hey, I'll write it." And many drafts later, it became an addiction. Around that time, I was like in the era of RPC characters. When Naruto was like really really popular. Around that time when it first came out, a lot of people was making fantasy characters about that stuff. Blah blah blah. That's pretty much where my entryway to otakuism pretty much came into play. And then my senpai, who was in my class, and she was like a year older than me. I was basically like attached to her like a little puppy. She took me down the rabbit hole even darker, from new rounds to all the other stuff. So it branched out from there. And then around that time, I made my first official manga that came out, Nightingale, Hero of Nine. It was a very cheesy isekai manga, but Lord and behold, I didn't think people was actually gonna like it, but actually, yeah, it did. I just had to be patient, and I'm just seeing the reviews and comments coming in. So I was like, wow, crazy. The biggest thing about me is I'm very like self-conscious about myself, my work, and everything else. So I'll go into like a deep depression about it. I can't even help it. It's like a mental attachment or something. Stemming back to abandonment issues because my mom passed away and shit like that. So I was pretty much alone and grown up by myself. pretty much. So yeah, and it went from Nightingale. Then that was around the time I started with Irvin over here. We started off on one of my pieces that was a stem off from Directors. We did Kid Kaminari together. That was like a little short run thing, blah blah blah. And
The
fun fact, that evolved from that to Striker and Slayer because it was a good story at the particular time. And like I said, that mental issue where I couldn't keep going and continue and stuff was around that time, and I was working with him. So that kind of just bolted there. But then I came up with the idea, hey, what if I did something crazy? Striker and Slayer originally started out as Vampire Hunter D. No, not Vampire Hunter D. It was Vanguard Hunter G or something like that, where the main protagonist was a werewolf instead of what he was now. He was a werewolf, and the Akasha character was like a witch at that particular time, just like a regular thing. And I was like, you know what? Hey, let me just take this a step further. Let me do some research on the Japanese gods, pull up my years of D&D expertise, and figure out some characters with that. And I was like, hey, you know what? Um, I ran into a story about Raiden, the Japanese god Raiden, Raijin, and everything else, and he had a son named Raitaro. Like he had a son named Raitaro who was half human, blah blah blah, and he met an end by some character. I forgot what his name was. This was such a long time ago, but I took representation from that story, and that's how we got Striker and Slayer. And then yeah, pretty much from there, I just been doing whatever I possibly can.
And I feel like I have a copy of that somewhere around here. I don't know why. Like I'm looking for everything, and whenever I need it, it's like everything's gone. Like I literally, in order for me to even run to go get the Super Punch, like the physical copy of it, I had like all of a sudden it started pouring out here. Like right when I was
Yeah,
out
it's
in my
raining
car.
over here pretty badly too. I'm looking for my wife, and I'm kind of worried.
Oh, okay,
You gotta
okay.
make sure she's safe.
Oh yeah,
But our
definitely.
background has Striker and Slayer. I'm looking at the StreamYard.
Oh yeah. There we go. Yeah, thank you. Boom.
But great job, Darius, and it's always interesting to hear your history. So nice to physically see you on camera.
Nice to physically see all y'all. Yeah, I'm very
Yeah,
camera
for
shy.
sure.
My hair's a fucking mess, but
I hate the camera too, so we on the same boat.
I think we're a pretty introverted group.
Like,
I think
yeah, I'm very introverted. That's basically it. Because I was a kid. I was that kid who really if you would look at me in a crowd and where I was living, you would be like, okay, that kid does not belong in the hood. Really, like I was not hood at all. Not even a little bit. I was comic books, superheroes, and everything else in between, and that kind of made me a target. So back in the days, it wasn't okay to be a nerd like it is right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like yeah, you that was the thing you got beat up for, right. Yeah. So it was that was my life, but hey, I liked it. So it was like I just kept going with it, man. I just kept going. Like sometimes you just gotta fight for what you believe in and what you like. If you gotta stand out and be a little different from people, fine. Be different.
Che and I literally have that conversation about being like a black nerd like every day. Like talk about like how it was in the past. The categories.
Yeah, it was one thing to be a nerd, but then when you're a black nerd, it's like a whole different ball game.
Okay, so now that we've all kind of talked a little bit about some of at least kind of what inspired us or what kind of got us going, I guess we can talk just a little briefly about maybe even some of the art that we all did, or I mean I didn't do any art, and make sure I put out there I'm not a artist. The most I've done ever when it comes to artists, I've done like storyboards, kind of like and I did that for Gods of Life, when Felix, or she's gone by many names, but Felix, Puni Panda, when she's worked on doing a lot of the work for that. That's the most I've done. Then I stopped doing it after that, after Mark got me out of doing that, because I used to do that and write a script at the same time. And he's like, don't do that, Jack. All you need to do is do a script. That's all you gotta do.
Like,
so
yeah, I understand that.
You trying to control the artist's hand. When you do a storyboard, you gotta let them do what they do.
I was the same way, particularly, especially with my characters, because I always felt like, I had a certain look that if I didn't do it the way it was never gonna feel right for me, no matter how you drew it.
Oh
Like I
my
was like that too, and then I eventually learned, you gotta trust your artists, and yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I think that's the difficult, and maybe we could talk about that really quick. That's the difficult thing as like writers is that we might have an idea of something that we want, but then when you're working with an artist, the artist is pretty much the director of the project. So you kind of have to let the artist. So I don't know, like I mean, most of you guys do both. Some of you guys have switched over. Director used to do, a lot of art. Now he does, mostly writing. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about like those of you who have been on both sides or do one primarily? How do you feel about it?
It's kind of it's kind of a tedious transition, to be honest. It really is, especially if you're doing both sides of the job, because not only do you have to like draw it out, blah blah blah, you also have to, especially if you're a person like me, you're a professionalist. I'm a perfectionist with things you do and things you want to put out there. You're gonna drive yourself mad because you're gonna feel like you can especially artists. We all have that bug where the smallest out of place line is gonna drive you insane. Just like
Right. Once you notice that one little thing.
yeah, it's gonna drive you mad, and you're gonna spend ample time just on that specific part, and then you're gonna find like no progress going at all.
Agreed.
Yeah, for me, doing both, and one agreed with Darius and director. I think that y'all broke that down pretty good. I think that it's difficult to manage two things at one time, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of times, as an artist, trying to make sure that I'm sticking to my fundamentals that I've learned without going too far off of just looking at my favorite manga, right, and making it balanced and making sure it works for the story. The
Right.
writing part is, I think, more difficult. I think once you have the writing down, for me, it makes it easier for me to like lay out pages. So going through the sequential process was difficult because many of us started off drawing like not necessarily fine arts, but we were kids. We do Dragon Ball Z. Like first thing Dragon Ball Z, Sonic,
Yep.
all these different anime and games and comic books and whatnot. You just drew what you saw. But
Right.
telling the story, storyboard, and all of those things, it has to make sense to the audience. So going through that process and going through the editing and then the what is that, the turnaround time, and then getting a
Hmm.
new idea during turnaround time, and then being like, can I insert this idea during turnaround time? Like, no, you got to
Right.
do.
When you're
Hurry
close
up,
to being locked in.
stop being too artsy artists. We need you to get this out. So we already started here, finish, right? Which is
Right.
pragmatic, and which is why I appreciate the editing process, but it's about like tailoring the creative juices from both sides. So that's my experience.
All right. How do you feel about it, Mike? Because I know. And did we lose somebody?
I think it was Tiny. She
Oh,
also
okay.
she went to dentist, so we looking, get
Oh,
well,
okay.
Tiny. So just in
Yeah,
case.
well, oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I understand that. Oh, she's back. Let's give her a second to get situated, and then we'll add her back in. Um, but Mike. So, how do you feel about it from your perspective? Because I remember at one point you used to do like uh, like comics for Wayne State, University, which is local to where you and I stay. Um, you've been on, I'm sure, or I'm not even sure. I know you've been on. You do both sides. You do both things. So like, and you've also done, if I'm not mistaken, you've done some commission work for people before. So like working with um like a writer, what is your perspective on that?
So it's a little extensive, but I'm gonna make it as short as possible.
That.
So I've been, I've so from the artist side, because that's where I initially started, and I thought like this is where the money is, and there is money in it. Don't get me wrong, there is money in being an artist, but there's more, I would say, control in writing, and you you get that perception ultimately when it comes down to understanding that this is where the inception happens. This is where all the, not all the creativity happens, but this is where the bulk of it is. The bulk of its origin is in the writing. So when it comes to my perspective, I've been on the artist side, being an assistant artist and being like a background artist in different books. And then I've worked with other small companies with a writer who, in a sense, gave me a lot of freedom when it came to art. Just like the paneling and the character composition. And I realized that the more freedom I had as just an artist, the more, well, and this is just me, the more I hated that. I needed the constraints in order to be able to actually have the freedom I wanted in order to produce what I thought
Yeah, you
was
need the limits.
yeah, you need the limits. You really do need the limits because this previous employer, of course, we got the project done, and I really truly hated the process. And this is already when I was introduced to Imaginos and Shining Otaka. This is just a odd job, but it was from the artist side. I found that you have to have some type of structure because if you don't, like, we all know what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We all know
Take it
what we
from me,
do.
who's in boot camp with Mark already. Yeah, you need the structure, man.
Yeah, we already know what we do, man. So, and I believe that it's paramount to have finely descriptive things, that descriptive parameters for yourself. Um, and to kind of like close the thought on the writing side, control is necessary because there's an expected start, there's an expected end.
Mm-hmm.
You, even if the ending is ambiguous or even if it's abstract, there's still an end.
Right. You set a
So
deadline for yourself mentally, even though there is no deadline.
yeah, and so like from the writing perspective, I think it's very necessary to see, like it's even described in Robert McKee's story. It's like the more fine-tuned or the smaller your world, the more intimate you have to make every detail, because the much larger and more expansive you get, it kind of loses that value and that true essence and flavor of what the story is really getting at. Don't get me wrong, I love One Piece. But One Piece has that problem. Like me and my gastroenterologist, we talk about One Piece every appointment I have with him. He's like, "Are you caught up?" Like, I'm like, "Bro, dude, I'm here for my gut, man." And he's like, "Okay, he was like, "Let's handle business first." But it's,
That is business for him.
I mean, it's business. But the thing is, he's like, he's a big One Piece fan. But I One Piece suffers from that.
Right.
It's like it's I don't want to say it's lost its value. It's still an entertaining book, still an entertaining show, and I'm excited for the live action season 2. But
Mm-hmm.
the if the world was more condensed, even if you just got like, oh, perfect example is the One Piece fan letter animation that Toei Animation just did recently. That is an amazing example, and now I'm being long-winded, but that's an amazing example of just like you've condensed this world down into these couple of characters that are seeing the Straw Hats try and make it to the new ship that they got, and they're just trying to make it away from the island without getting their ship sunk, so they can
Or
like
them
go into the
dying.
new world. And I'm just like, wow, this is just an amazing perspective, an amazing take, amazing look. And so it's more of that. It's like how make worlds smaller so I care more about these characters. So you can have something like you have something finite and worthwhile and people enjoy it. Not saying that One Piece is bad, and it's not, because it sells. So
I
I
can
hope
already
that's,
see the rage comments coming.
man.
Got another comment from Johnny.
Oh, that scared the
Gonna
living hell out of me. I was about to say,
gonna,
it's already starting.
What perfect timing.
gonna lurk and listen in, but thanks for this stream, guys. Well, we appreciate it for you joining the stream.
Ooh, that was perfect timing. That scared me. I was, it happened.
Okay, so gonna kind of reel it back to kind of what we're working on, or what we worked on, basically, since this stream is about Origami Super Punch. So, first off, how did you guys, before we even talk about your individual projects, how did you guys feel about? Because I think Mark kind of came up with the genesis idea of doing the Origami Super Punch. How did you guys feel about that going through this process? Even working with Mark on being able to, I guess, all of us to polish our skills up a little bit. How did, not all at once, but who wants to go first? Or you guys, we can just talk. Doesn't matter.
Who wants to go first before I take a long time explaining my nightmare in boot camp?
Oh man. I mean, like, do we have to talk about like the inception of the origin or the genesis of the inception of just like working with Mark?
You guys can talk about whatever you want to talk about, whatever's on your heart.
Oh man.
Oh,
I just answered that last question. I don't want to be rambling.
I just stepped back in. Could y'all remind me? I stepped away for just a second, so I apologize.
All we're talking about is how we felt going through this process of Origami Super Punch. Obviously, don't say too much, but just how did you guys feel about going through the process?
It was pretty fun, pretty challenging, I would say, for myself. I went through like what, so many drafts just to get the one chapter up and running, but it was good. I learned, structure, the emotional trigger, and everything else, because he personally messaged me, "What's the emotional trigger?" I'm like, "Wait, what? Zero context, just what's an emotional trigger?"
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, and I would just be scrambling.
At 4 in the morning,
my
too.
toes. Like, right, it keeps you on my toes. Like, because I never learned any of this stuff. Like, I've just been like solo self act, pretty much, just pulling anything out of nothing. Literally. So it was kind of good to get structure going, get lessons, get some actual professional training in. It definitely did pay a number. Definitely did help, especially with my other projects going further outside of this one. It definitely helped when it came to story building, story structure, et cetera, et cetera. So I definitely can say I came a long way just for that, just from that segment alone.
I felt pretty good going through the process because this is my first time. This is my debut, first time ever doing like an official manga. Of course, like as a kid, I did a lot of fan fiction, like Dragon Ball Z, all the things, ideas. But I was just going off like Darius just said, pulling from different places. So it felt like grad school because during the time of I was finishing grad school when we started Origami Super Punch. So like my experience with joining Shonen Otaku was doing like a lot of the rebranding and a lot of the learning curve, where it's like, okay, we're going to make sure that we structure and we learn what we need to learn. So I got a fresh start to be, okay, I'm learning. Okay, I got to actually base everything directly from the source. It's like, okay, this is how I build the story. Like Darius said, this is how I build the structure. So obviously it's interesting because you work with all creative, and Marcus, the deceitful sensei that he doesn't like to claim to be. But the thing is, like, a lot of his guidance, eclectic as it may be, it's a seed that's planted. It's like, oh, okay, I see what he's talking about now. Even if it hits you a month later, even if it hits you 2 months later. So the process in and of itself was intense, to be fair. And it taught me, how being a creative isn't necessarily easy, or lack of better words, for the weak. Like, you got to really be driven to do this in order to really get something out of this. So It is high risk, but it's high reward. And that's what this process has shown me.
Mm-hmm. Like, to add additionally, I can definitely say, like, I'm very thankful for it, because when Mark hit me up to saying, hey, we wanted to do Striker and Slayer, I was going through, I guess how you can say I was going through my midlife crisis right then and there, because, my baby was just born, like, I had all this stuff, and then now she's here, and there's something just went, like, I need to do something to leave a legacy behind for this child, Look, I just need to just, like, sit at this computer, type a story or something, and then here we go, gear like Gear 0083 happened, and now I'm also working on a 3D game too at the same time. So just like a lot of energy drive came from just this place. Just want you guys to know that like, a lot of energy and motivation came from this place, just lighting the fire right there, back.
Oh, that makes me feel really good.
Right? Because he
Yeah.
wanted to do Striker and Slayer, and I was just like, if I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna make my re-debut again, I'm gonna do something new and fresh. And then he was like, "Bet, got you," and that's pretty much where it went.
Yeah, I'm like, it's funny. Like, Striker and Slayer is one of those stories. I think people, if we when we do go to cons, they still like, oh, do you have any Striker and Slayer? So it's like, I think, too much they know about the stuff that we've put out, then. So I definitely have to say, I'm sure anybody who has been following us, I'm sure that they're looking forward to whatever else you got out there, Darius. So I mean, I'm looking forward to Gear 83. It's gonna be good.
You see, the thing, I never accept that at first. I always think my shit is bad to come in, and then I wait a little bit, and the next thing I'm seeing like hundreds of comments. Can't wait for the next chapter. This is da, 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 da," and I just be kicking myself in the pants because I just go with like a whole ocean of negativity.
I'm not even gonna lie
Chuck-
though. When I think of Gear 83, this has nothing to do with the premise of the story or how it looks, but like I just think of like Gundam 0083.
Oh my God! Someone actually caught the first Easter egg. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, because I like Gundam, so
Oh my
I'm a
God!
Gundam
Yeah, I
fan.
was like, when I came up with that, I was like, you know what? Let me just come up with like the first noticeable Easter egg in for the series. Let's see how many people catch it. Mark
Okay.
didn't catch it. I thought he would, but he didn't. You did.
If you would have mentioned Macross, I would have got it, but it wasn't Macross. All right, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm gonna get beat up after this stream, I'm sure. But in any case, I'm gonna say before we move on, did anybody else have anything to say about? Because I actually lost what we were talking about. I think I got so.
We were
I think it was
talking about
about-
how do we feel for the initial process of Super Origami Super Punch.
Okay.
Everyone's
I don't-
experiences for it.
Does anybody else want to share any? How they felt about going through it? I know with Director, I feel like he got it early from Mark.
That-
Yeah.
Speaking of that, long time no see, Rector.
So
that Mark put you through the process. I feel like early because I think it was a while back. So how did you feel about when we were kind of revving up for this?
well, for me, it was like a new opportunity because I was always a artist after all. So like being a writer in this was like a new thing a new gateway or whatever for me to go through a new part of my life. Like, but I was really excited when I got the chance. I can finally start doing stories that I actually want to do because I have a lot of like stories up in my head that are cooking.
Okay. And Tani, I know right now, your mouth's a little numb, so you don't have to say too much or whatnot. Or if you're up to say anything, you can. But if not, then that's fine. But if you have enough, can you at least say if it was good or bad?
It was good.
Okay.
It was good. Like I've been in anthologies before, so I was used to it because for me, I kind of did writing and drawing at the same time growing up. So after SCAD, Mark pulled me in, and ever since then it's been interesting.
Nice. Okay, all right. We got Rexy gonna comment from the comment section. You should be in here, but I digress. It's fine. I like to poke fun of him. Rexy is also a part of our squad. So anyone who's watching this stream either now or later, you know that. But let's see here.
He's also one of the artists in the game team as well, so he's getting out there.
Oh yeah, no, Rexy's fine. I'm playing with you when I say that too, Rexy. Just throwing that out there. I'm not being real serious, But And I'm like, I'm
You
just
and
trying to make
I.
sure. Yes, he's gonna be in the next Super Punch. So, all right. So, I think this would be probably like the last part of this because I don't want this to run on too long. I know everybody's got stuff to do, especially since it's a holiday. I guess we can. I'm kind of curious for some of you guys on like the pages for some of your stories or even like some of the art. What was going through your mind? So like, and I'm sure other people are probably curious about it. So I'm actually gonna kick it off with Mike, if that's okay. Mike, do you feel like going first? Okay. All right. So this isn't a whole page. It's just a panel from the page. I don't want to spoil everything going on, but what was the process like? What were you thinking about when you were actually before I even get to that? Here's a design. I believe it's the design of the character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your story. So just take it away.
Oh boy. First and foremost, I don't like that page. And that's just me. That's just the critical nature, the hypercritical nature of myself. And then also it's just
See
being
that artist professionalism I'm talking about.
yeah, man.
It's a
It's
killer.
you stab yourself in the foot and the heart at the same time. So it's like
And just saying one more time for people who don't know, because I know we said this earlier in the stream, I'm going to say Mike is the creator, artist, and writer for Beta. Just throwing it out there. But all right, continue.
Oh yeah, you're definitely going insane.
thank you, Darius. And it's
Wait,
romance.
I
So
didn't
it's
mean
like
to.
you gotta
I was thinking you. I didn't think it came out.
oh man. It was that is funny because it's true. But on top of that, like with grad school, it's just like, punch, just roll with it. I just basically sleep in my free time. But here, like with the conceptual art, I was more so just trying to get a feel for the character Vince here and just trying to understand like, okay, what do I really want to display? What do I really want to acknowledge? And then there's more. This is like just one of the character sheets that I made for him. But I wanted to give him like this youthful, really just kind of like naive appearance where he doesn't particularly have like this. He had to be somewhat naive, but also at the same time, how do I showcase his inexperience in romance or just inexperience in talking to women, the opposite sex, and like trying to navigate those nuances there. And so the bottom left is what you see is like what I was kind of like landing for, but I was like, he looks too much like a kid here. And his head shape isn't like he looks just much like a child. And so I was just like, okay, how do I get him to look more adult like, but at the same time kind of retain that innocence and just that ignorance. And so what you see in the red sketch is kind of like the head shape that I'm going for. So a little bit more elongated, no type of facial hair, and trying to just structure around, something that's a common haircut in the Black community, which is just like kind of a scruffy, kind of curly fade basically. So yeah, pretty much like what I try to do is like keep my line work thin, and then ultimately for things that I have to emphasize, then go over and make those thicken, then go over and make those lines thicker in order to bring things to the forefront or just like help things recede back. And I primarily keep it like that because it's just me. And I gotta like make this process like in order to be able to get it out and say that, oh, this is done, this is complete, because that's what I want to do with these stories. They're done, they're complete. I can move on to the next one. Or this page is done, it's complete. I know it's not going to be perfect. Let's move on to the next one. And yeah, that's how I landed on, I don't want to say the particular art style, but in a sense, like this is now as I say it out loud, it's more so somewhat of a psychological battle that I'm having with the artwork as well as the attached story. Is love something that you want to just move on beyond when it doesn't particularly serve you in the way that you've expected? And because there's so many different love stories that I've already like crafted or made log lines for that's going to be in the book. Is that how, you know, we as a society innately perceive romantic gestures or the evidence of what we believe to be love or lust in our eyes in the modern day? So just food for thought.
Okay, all right.
That's a
Now,
great description.
since we only have a few of the pages here, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and bounce it to Che, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. So let me see here. Well, let's talk about your logo first. So let me pull that back.
And I want to comment on Mike's page work too. Mike.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Comment on Mike's
I was
stuff.
just gonna say he does a very good job of
Don't
painting.
you say nothing harmful.
No, not at
I
all.
already
Critique, this is a portfolio
I want to
review.
give you a compliment.
okay.
No. I want to give you a compliment. I think you do a great job of pushing the concept where people can follow what's going on. So I think like your storytelling, even without the words, I can see it. So I just wanted to say good job on that. And I think you do a good job with the sleek designs. And that's something I have to work on. And y'all see in my artwork next, where I need to get more like Mike, tighten up the line work, being able to do diverse characters outside of just one particular demographic. I think Mike does a really good job. So that's
You
it.
were supposed to be harsh. You were supposed to.
I mean, we that's in-house, right? You know what I mean? We handle our business in-house.
You had to really.
I'm about to go in the other room and cry because of you now, man.
Right?
Them tears about to be alligator, man.
You know?
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So here's the logo for Third Winter. So obviously you designed this yourself. So what all went into this? And you know, and Che, talk a little bit because you're more traditional still, right? Even though you do the do digital.
So with this design, I mean, like we came up with the storyline. I thought about like a nuclear winter, right? And how it's like warfare, how it looks like. Have you ever seen like Black Snow? Have you ever seen like a war movie and it's Black Snow from like ashes or fire? So really like looking at ashes, I want to bring ashes together with snow. And obviously I just used the snowflake because, okay, I need a snowflake to show winter in third Roman numeral. So just showing like everything isn't what it seems. So that's kind of how I came up with that logo. It was just playing around with it, but I want to show both sides of it. Like you may see this black and white on this side, but it's a little bit of gray, even though that's like a bluish, but I want to show like it's more to it as you learn somebody's story. That's where I came up with it.
Okay. All right. Now this is like a little snippet from one of the pages. You know, I didn't pick your favorite monsters that I know come up with that I see a lot in your work, you know, that everybody else hasn't seen quite yet, but they're gonna see them eventually.
Right.
But talk about this.
I think I want to show desperation with the boy, the young man, and this is a transition page. So this is where the world changes, where it goes from a semi-normal world into a more berserk-like theme, right? So one of my favorite mangakas, Miura. So the person who created
Miura, right?
Yes. Who created Berserk, rest in peace. So I want to pull from that and transforming and showing like, okay, this is where the story shifts. So having him in a normal setting of a liquor store, having him desperate, and then thinking the person you can count on actually will turn against you. I just want to show that in one panel. So just to kind of bring out a little bit of anxiety, to be honest, and show his anxiety and what it looks like. So
I'm not even gonna lie, I do like that third panel. I mean, I like all the panels in this, but I really like that third panel, you know, the transition, because obviously people haven't seen the part that happens before that, but you know, it's just kind of cool to see the change. So
it'll make sense once you actually, you know, pick up the Origami Super Punch and read through the story. A lot of the pages will make sense. So I mean, these are just showing some of our favorite pages. So it's cool. It's cool.
Okay. All right. Now I don't know, Tani, are you feeling up to maybe talking about a page a little bit?
I can.
Okay. All right. Let me pull up at least your characters, obviously. So what was your process when you drew this and colored this and did everything you did to this.
Um, I was brainstorming different covers for my first volume. Um, and I drew this for fun initially, and then it came out really nicely to the point I was like, yeah, I'll use this as my cover. Um,
All right. Let me see here. I'm going to pull up your page if I can get to it. Here we go. Here's a page or panels from the page. So
okay.
obviously this is I think this is a pivotal moment, asking
Yeah.
this question.
Yeah.
So what
Oh, continue. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you can go.
Oh no, I was gonna say, so like when you were drawing, like for example, this scene, like what tools do you use or what do you use? Do you use like Clip Studio when you do your pages?
I draw everything traditional, then I scan it, and then I use Clip to ink and tone and letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how long does it usually take you, like when you're doing a page? Because I know, like industry standard for a lot of people, some people might take 8 hours to do it, or something.
I can do 2 full pages in a day.
Oh wow.
That's why. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think let me see here. I'm gonna do last thing I'm gonna do because I don't have Darius's work all pulled up right now. I'm gonna pull up something that the director worked on for me, and I guess I'm curious, from his perspective for Killbox. So I mean, this takes up the whole screen. With the character of Darren, this is some faces when you were sketching out faces. When you came up with his design, what was going through your mind? Because I see the rabbit.
When I designed Darren, I wanted him to be like a typical teenager, but I wanted him to be a mix of being to have a little bit of being a loser, you might say, because I know his story. It's just that I wanted him to be endearing, relatable, but also like a little hint of pity, you might say. So that that's how when I drew him up.
Yeah, when you guys read Killbox, you'll get it. Like Darren, he's something else.
My boy, my boy Darren.
Don't let this innocent face fool you. He's something else. But like, when you
He
did
doesn't
this,
think.
You said what?
He doesn't. He's not the smartest tool in the shed.
But like, when you did this particular page right here, what was the like? How long did it take for you to do this one? Do you remember offhand? Because you didn't do the inking. I forgot to mention Liz did the inking. Because I'm trying to make sure I don't leave everybody out. Micah Myers did the lettering on Killbox, and Liz did the inking, and Mark edited it and everything. So I wrote it and came with the characters. But
it took. Well, I also did the screen toning for this as well.
Yes, you did.
And
design the characters.
The page itself took like a half a day to make, but in total it's spread between a long time, but in total it's like 1 day ish to finish this whole page.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up now because we're at that 1 hour mark. We just decided to try something a little different. So with that being said, for those of you guys who enjoyed this video, make sure you throw a like up. Origami Super Punch is going to be available. I believe it should either be sometime tonight, tomorrow. It'll be soon. We'll make sure we post a link. We're just waiting for them to fully update the website so that it actually shows up on there so you can purchase it. But you will see that on there, and it will be for $19.99. These stories, the guys put a lot into it, or everybody put a lot into it. A lot of people were involved with this, as you can tell, and we're already working on doing the other ones. And all these stories, I wouldn't just be saying that I genuinely really enjoy, myself personally at least. So make sure you guys check it out. Does anybody have anything else that they want to say before we go ahead and head on out?
We did the like and subscribe, right?
We did the like and subscribe, I'm pretty sure. But, I'm like trying to make this not sound super corporate, guys. So those of you guys who are watching this, I know I put on my little corporate voice. I'm just trying to make sure I cover all our bases as the group. But with that being said, oh yeah, this is our new logo too. It's pretty much the same, but got the silver thing. So Shining Otaku, we doing our thing. Follow us on TikTok. We're on there as well. And then, oh yeah, Shining Spotlight will be coming back very, 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 very soon. Meaning it's going to be on July the 12th. So no, it's a 12-episode season. Some episodes are going to be streamed live. Others may be recorded, but they will be every other week for, until we reach episode 12 of the season. So make sure you guys follow the channel for that as well. And you might see this happen every now and then. But with that being said, guys, we're all signing out. I guess if anybody else has anything to say it now or forever hold your peace. I know this isn't a marriage, but just got to say it. Okay. All right. Well, stay on, guys, real quick once I close this stream out. Anyway, we will see you guys later. Peace.